Hi, I'm Marc Stevens, author of Adventures in Legal Land. My website, of course, markstevens.net. The radio show is the No State Project, and we're live every Saturday from 4 to 7 Eastern Standard Time on LRN.FM and truthfrequencyradio.com. And want to just, actually, this is a little more appropriate for what we're talking about here. The code is applicable because the code is applicable. Armando surprised us. He's a friend of the show. We've known Armando for a number of years, and he's had a lot of success challenging bureaucratic attacks and other attacks that are launched against him in the courts. And so he had initially 2 credit card cases or complaints filed against him, and he was able to get both of them withdrawn, where the company, the lawyers representing the companies withdrew, because when we went into with motion to dismiss for a lack of evidence proving jurisdiction and a valid cause of action, they withdrew. And we went through sort of the discovery process, which you can do in Texas before pleadings are closed or ended, where you can get some discovery where we hit them on the mechanics of the alleged loan to show that there really was no loan. There was no evidence of a loan. There certainly wasn't evidence of a meeting of the minds, so there was no evidence of a contract. So this is Armando's website, the Rio Grande Valley No State Project. It is rgvnostate.com. He's got a lot of other stuff on here regarding some of the things that he's had thrown out, which was great. He's had there was a parking ticket. There was, of course, the Discover Bank and the Capital One. So he's had a lot of success doing what's really effective, just sticking to challenging them on the evidence, just sticking to the evidence. Always just have who's ever attacking you, have them verify their position. That's the most effective way. That's why you have silly things like you need, that the code is applicable because the code is applicable, or it's the law and it doesn't require evidence. So, people who say things like that, they're not only using circular logic, but they're admitting that the law is applied arbitrarily, that that you don't need evidence to prove the law is applicable. No, that's not true. If there's no evidence that the law is applicable, it's arbitrary, and it doesn't matter how many lawyers say the law applies. Their say-so is not evidence. It's arbitrary, no matter how many people say it applies. If there is no evidence, it's arbitrary by definition. So let me get to this. This is the actual document. Let's blow that up a little bit. We see this is in the county court of Hidalgo County in Texas. It is Capital One National Association who's claiming to have a debt or owed money by Armando. So what they did was, after the first time was thrown out, or they withdrew rather, they refiled back in December and had him served in January, and that's when I started helping him on this. We took a look at the complaint. It was ridiculous on its face. There was no facts alleged whatsoever. It was basically, he owes us the money, he didn't pay, give us the money. Order him to pay us. Dismissed based on a lack of evidence that showed that there was jurisdiction to prove that he was within the plaintiff's state of within the state of Texas. And that there was no evidence to show a contract or that there had been a loan made. And so they fought that. We went through some discovery, requested evidence of jurisdiction. I even got on the phone and spoke to 2 of their lawyers down there. And when I had asked for evidence to prove the Constitution laws applied and that Armando is actually in the state of Texas, which just being in Texas doesn't mean you're in the state of Texas, but that's another video. They weren't able to produce any evidence whatsoever. They could not produce any evidence that the Constitution and laws applied. Now, they try to say that he was served, and the rules say that once you serve somebody, then there's jurisdiction. Well, what evidence do you have that the rules apply to Armando at all? They weren't able to give any. The best that she tried to do is just like an appeal to her authority, and that she was the office manager. But just being an office manager is not evidence that the law applies to Armando and that there's jurisdiction. So, after we had that call, we had put it in writing that another motion to dismiss based on misconduct, that the Michael Scott law firm, they had filed a complaint and were pursuing this complaint absent evidence of jurisdiction. And that we put in the motion to dismiss, we put the date and time that we had called and who we had spoken to, and that they had no evidence. And it happens, but the judge, whose name I cannot make out at all, I have no idea what this, I don't know, I just don't get it. But the judge looked at the motion to dismiss for a lack of jurisdiction and misconduct, and This is what they did. They ordered granting defendant's motion to dismiss. The court, having considered the motion, finds that the motion is well taken and should be granted. It is therefore ordered that the complaint filed by Capital One National Association be dismissed with prejudice. Now, with prejudice means they can't refile. So what they did, like they did before, they just refiled. They weren't given leave to file an amended complaint here. So apparently, the motion to dismiss for a lack of jurisdiction, lack of evidence to prove jurisdiction, and that the misconduct on behalf of Michael Scott was sufficient that the judge realized that there was no reason to give Michael Scott an opportunity to file an amended complaint, which is a fairly standard thing. She just dismissed it with prejudice. Now, they did file a motion to vacate, but we have not seen or responded to it. But a big kudos to our friend Armando for standing up and defending himself and doing the obvious and doing what's very effective, just sticking to the evidence. And when these lawyers don't have it, call it what it is. It's misconduct. And hopefully we can get a complaint through. And now that we've got a judge who agrees it's misconduct, the Bar Association will take it seriously, and this Michael Scott may be on his way out, to be out of business. Because what we've got here, if you look, this is his website, it's scott-pc.com, the Michael J. Scott law firm. If you do a Google search, which I did here, you can see, if you do a Google search, you're going to find some things that come up. What comes up first is sued by Michael J. Scott. Apparently, this guy's got a lot of lawsuits against him, or a lot of complaints against him, and there are law firms that single this guy out. So apparently, there have been a flood of complaints filed by this Michael J. Scott law firm, and so you've got attorneys that are dedicated to helping you if he is attacking you. See, here's another one. This is how they advertise. If the Michael J. Scott law firm is suing you, call this law firm, and they will help you. So if you go down here, there's a rip-off report. Of course, it's just on the internet. We don't know if this is actually accurate or not. However, when we go to Armando's, I do have personal firsthand knowledge of this. And I do know that Michael Scott and his attorneys did file a complaint against Armando with no evidence at all. And get this, they didn't even think that they needed to have evidence. These lawyers, some of them, like Michael Scott, are so brazen in their arrogance, and that the courts are usually so willing to rubber stamp this crap from them, that they will admit that they will say things like, we don't have to have evidence. Well, thank goodness this judge disagreed. Thank goodness. It doesn't always happen when you've got Capital One that is the one suing you, but it does happen. But what I want to finish with is how important it is to show evidence like this, that you do not have to go to a lawyer to get this nonsense thrown out. That's what they want. Someone like Michael Scott wants you to be afraid so that you'll either give in, or in desperation, you'll go on the internet or the phone book and you'll hire a lawyer out of fear to get this thrown out. And this is evidence you don't have to do that. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean that everyone's going to be able to show that there's no evidence and have the judge do the right thing and get it kicked out. But it is evidence to show that someone like Armando and myself, we can work together, and without hiring a member of the bar, these false complaints, these frivolous complaints can be thrown out. So you don't need to get a lawyer to do that. But hopefully that we can get, now that a judge has agreed that there is misconduct here and they did bring a complaint absent evidence of jurisdiction, that we can file a complaint with the Bar Association and get this, and hopefully that might be, go towards getting the Michael J. Scott law firm put out of business, or at least Michael Scott, get him disbarred. But we'll see. We will file that complaint and give updates as we get them. So hopefully, again, I've been told in the past that if a judge says it's misconduct, then they take it more serious and they investigate that. My name is Marc Stevens. This is No Stay Project. Again, it's marcstevens.net. Big congratulations to Armando, and for more evidence that you don't have to be a lawyer or hire a lawyer to get these things thrown out, just go to marcstevens.net and look up the success stories. We've got quite a few, and I'll have this posted there today.